Customer experience begins not just with what we deliver, but how we lead the people who deliver it. Angela Canton is the Regional Customer Experience Manager at Zealand Couriers, and she brings a rich background in contact center operations, from the non-emergency and emergency sides of Hato Hone St to the team at Inland Revenue Department. She blends a people-first mindset with digital transformation, nurturing teams, building culture, and sparking positivity in high-pressure environments. Whether she's leading a learning and development initiative or building a structure where people can perform their best, Angela's focus on team, purpose, and service shines through. Welcome to the Kiwi CX Collective, Angela Canton. Welcome, Angela.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
It's lovely to have you. Now, Angela, for people in our audience who might not have met you before, can you please share a little bit of your background through how you got involved with Hato St all the way through to your current role in Zealand Couriers?
Thank you. My first foray into contact centres actually was my very first grown-up job coming out of university. That's when I was attracted into the team at Inland Revenue.
Wow.
In the call centre, I was a very introverted 20-year-old, and talking on the phone was the most terrifying idea. So I promptly got a job doing that all day in, day out. And gosh, I found some magic. There is magic in the contact centre because it's people talking to people.
Yep.
But since then, the Inland Revenue was a very traditional contact centre space, particularly at the time I was there. So it was wonderful to cut my teeth in other environments. The emergency space, I was the National Training and Quality Manager for 111, which was tremendous high pressure and a lot of learning. I then progressed to working in the non-emergency space. So from the patient transport space to the commercial, what we call the commercial contact centre for Hato Hone St. It was a different kind of work, different kind of urgency. My role transitioned to a more customer experience focused space. And that's when I found myself in the fully commercial environment of Zealand Couriers as the customer experience manager. So that intersection between customer service and technology and operations, that's where I live. That's the sea in which I swim.
Well, they say that people can guarantee a couple of things: death and taxes, and you've covered both of those.
I've done both of those things.
Which is amazing. In fact, we know we have a lot of similarity and our paths cross in many different tangents. When I started here in New Zealand, one of the roles that I had was working with a company called Sitel, who handled the frontline 111 calls before we handed off to the emergency service that was required. So we know the challenges, the issues of keeping somebody on hold and transitioning them to literally what could be a life or death environment. And you talk about starting your career off in the Inland Revenue. I love that. An introvert who's on the phones. What a hoot that must have been. But there's magic. There's magic in that P2P, that person-to-person communication. And I think we've got to understand and recognize in this whole customer experience space that we're talking about really humans and interacting with humans, whether it is around our taxes or around the life or death environment, or the transportation and secure delivery of products and services that are coming through. So if I then asked you, given this wide experience has brought you to this point, what is your definition or your view of this thing called CX, customer experience?
Oh, customer experience is the output of the customer services space working well, the technology that supports that customer interaction working well, the operation that drives that output working well. It's the sweet spot between all of those practices. And again, I think it has at its heart that people talking to people. That's whether it's through a digital channel or through an email or through the phone, the voice channel, it's all about that connection point.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it is, and you mentioned in that it's that customer service space with tech and operations all getting that sweet spot together. Because I think when we look at this, there is product, there is process, there is people,
Mm, mm,
and all of those are important in their own right. We're hearing a lot about the growth of AI. And at the summit, I didn't think you could turn around without bumping into AI in some fashion or another.
mm.
But we had a conversation on stage. I remember talking about the people side of things. And obviously, from a people perspective, we still need people who can come in and interact on that people to people side. But what are the challenges that you are finding in terms of recruitment at the moment? And does AI, this is a multi-layered question. Is AI involved in recruitment, for example? Let's start with that as a starting point.
Well, I can absolutely guarantee that in my current organisation, we're not using AI for recruitment. It's
Okay.
about good old-fashioned eyes to eyes,
Wow.
going through. I mean, I had over 500 applicants for my most recent opening,
500.
and we didn't have an AI to scrape those. That was about me clicking into every single CV, clicking into every single cover letter, and using my human spidey senses to
Wow.
make a call. Um, it might have been nice to have AI scrape that a little bit, to be perfectly honest. But I, I'm looking for the X factor.
Mhm.
I'm looking for the human factor. Um, our biggest challenge at the moment in recruitment, in addition to just getting through the volume of excellent applicants, um, is probably, I guess, generationally, particularly when we're looking at entry level positions, offering entry level positions. So, again, thinking of myself, just coming out of university, looking for my first job, customer services sounded like a sensible place. We're attracting a lot of digital natives, the
Mhm.
generation digital natives, who are perhaps not as keen to explore the voice channel, who perhaps have not had to um, have that emotional resilience in a public space. So naturally, don't want to get into conflict on the voice channel, which isn't really a new issue, to be perfectly honest. Contact centres have always been a hard space for that. We're certainly noticing now that our agents have a preference for the digital channel,
Mm.
which is great, but the voice channel's still pumping. We still need people to manage that.
Years ago, when I was involved with what was then Telecom New Zealand,
Mm.
I remember as cell phones started to proliferate, we had this big question, which was, what is the killer app
Mm.
for cell phones? And I remember they did, a lot of research, almost a decade spent researching this, and millions of dollars pumped into it. And they came back with the answer, which surprised us at the time. Voice. Voice is still the killer app. And I think
Mm.
people still have to have that ability to speak. But when you have these digital natives who are trying to avoid conflict,
Mhm.
trying to teach them how to pick up a phone and call somebody or answer it, how do you cope with that environment with this generational shift of encouraging people and retaining them and empowering them to grow in their roles?
Well, I think the word that you've used around encouragement is absolutely key.
Yeah.
Um, Remembering to always meet people where they're at um, is really important. And I remember what it was like to begin as a CSR and to sit in absolute terror waiting for that beep to go off in the ear. Thinking of the things that would have helped me at that time have it's really informed my journey currently. So making sure that we have supportive coaches, making sure that there's lots of practice time, making sure there's some great training and in a way that meets the needs of the learner. So at the moment, again, acknowledging that preference for digital culture, we've got some really good e-learn modules and gamifying the learning if possible is really important too. I'm really fortunate in that I have access to some great L&D tools to support to support my learners. And I think just going gently,
Mm.
going gently is part of the key to inviting people onto channels that they're less confident in.
I was once, just pre-COVID, able to go and do a consulting project for an organization I sat in
Mm.
to listen to what they were doing. It was in the automotive industry, and they brought new people on board, and they said, okay, here you go, sit beside this other person and listen to them. And when they sat there, the person who was an experienced CSR would work at the speed of light,
Mm.
on multiple screens, cutting and pasting,
Yeah.
dropping things in. And then they said, go into this L&D tool and just immerse yourself in there. But there didn't seem to be a lot of hand holding in this process. So for me, I like to ask the question about how do you ensure frontline teams are confident in the products they support, first of all, but secondly, how do you coach them in the other skill sets that they're going to need
Mm.
as a CSR to avoid the conflict and get that emotional support?
Yes, well, certainly at New Zealand Couriers, there is a real focus on the technical aspect
Mhm.
because the customer service representative, the CSR, has to be master of all they survey, which is common for so many businesses. You know, we think of customer service as the entry level space, but actually it's the space where you need to know everything because everything connects.
Mm.
So, in addition to making sure we have a lot of really good technical information, um, the confidence I think comes from the practice and the coaching. It's the coaching aspect, making sure that we have a leadership team that's strongly engaged in our people and seeing our people as people has been really, really vital. And it's something that New Zealand Couriers does really well. Our leaders are people focused in the customer service space. They have a great deal of technical knowledge, and that's marvelous. But they see their people as people, and that facilitates that honest conversation. When there are gaps in one's knowledge, it's okay to say, "Hey, I don't know so much about this particular logistics route, or I don't know so much about this particular product." Creating that honest space is vital for embedding that excellence of practice. And I think when you're using some of the great tools, such as the classic tools of contact center, such as your quality coaching, both your quality assurance and your quality improvement programs, again making sure that it's hand in glove with good people stuff, having that strong engagement. That's how we make sure that we have a strong base, and that's how we give our customers the confidence that when they call us, they will get someone who can speak truthfully and confidently to solve their problem.
I think that's a large part of the solution. If you have access to the right information,
Mm.
you've been trained up in the tools that you're using, and let's be honest, AI, which we heard, as I said, at the summit all the time, is just a tool to enhance potentially how the CSR, the agent, operates.
Mm.
And it's important for us to journey with them to make sure that we are supporting them from a people perspective. You mentioned coaching once or twice already, and I love the aspect of coaching because we've got to understand that at the end of the day, whether it's quality assurance or quality improvement, we've also got to understand that people come to work and bring their home life into work.
Mm.
It's impossible to separate the two, and as leaders, we've got to be able to understand what's going on. I mentioned to another guest that there's a great phrase, I think John Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm.
I think we've got to work this. It's encouraging to hear that you've got a leadership team that has that people focus and work its way through. So if you are looking at some of the metrics that you want to measure, we know that contact centers tend to be very metric driven.
Yes.
We're looking for average handling time, speed to answer, NSAT, or some other
Hmm.
form of customer satisfaction surveys, NPS, whatever it might be. What are the metrics that you think are important for us to be measuring in contact centers? And do you see a shift changing that we should be aware of?
Yes, the metrics that matter. Well, I'm a little bit biased, perhaps from my training and quality space. I know that time is important, But quality in my eyes is so much more important, because if you get the quality right, the time will come. And that was true whether working at inland revenue, in the 111s, or in the freight and logistics space. Get the quality right first, because that's your opportunity to have those great conversations around how to help a person flourish, how to help a person actually get better at what they do. Um, and we know, and I think it's quite a well-researched phenomenon, that if a CSR is hitting their quality marks, they will generally have a more slender AHT.
Mhm.
It's just kind of part of the process, because you naturally learn to rationalize your voice channel as you're working, if you're highly competent. So yeah, quality is the main metric that matters. I'm also, and this is the acknowledgement to customer experience, I'm also keen on what the voice of the customer is doing.
Mhm.
Always interested to know what our people, and that's both internal and external.
Yeah.
So we've recently run some internal engagement surveys to make sure that we're capturing, when we say voice of the customer, all aspects of who our customer service teams touch. So yeah, that's an important part of it for me.
I think it's very important to get that internal and external voice of customer heard. I was a guest judge for some of the awards in Malaysia, and I remember listening to them talk about what was happening. What they said was financial institutes, two financial institutes merging into one, two sets of systems, two sets of cultures, two sets of teams. How do you make it all work? And it was really horrendous. But what they understood
Mm.
was that if they listened to their CSRs, their agents, and then shared that, they could then help to streamline things within the business. I think that you mentioned this before. You're talking about an environment, especially with customer experience. It's a team sport,
Yes.
not a siloed, department by
Mm.
department. And we have to acknowledge that there are different things that happen, whether it's within IT or logistics or, human resource, whatever it might be, that we all have to work together. Marketing will produce a message that sends something out that then causes inbound calls.
Yes.
So when you create that, and that creates a pressure,
Mhm.
especially on the people who are trying to adhere to these average handling times, you want the quality in there. How do you motivate a team when the pressure is on?
Yes, and we're just coming into our high pressure season in the freight and logistics industry, with the Black Friday sales, Cyber
Yep.
Monday, and of course Christmas approaching. So I think for me, it's very much about being honest with the team in
Yep.
terms of the demand. So in our space, we have a big performance board where we can see volumes coming in. We have a
Mhm.
daily hui that anchors our practice to the numbers. We're very transparent about what practices we'll be doing to ease the way. We make sure that we acknowledge it's high pressure. Please look after yourselves. We tell our team leaders to put their own oxygen masks on first, which is really vital. I think that particular layer of supervision in most contact centres I've seen, the team leaders carry an awful lot, and they're juggling the numbers, and we forget that they're also at the main interface to our frontline workers. They are the people conduit. So making sure that they are in a sound and strong and resilient space is really, really vital.
So let's explore that. You've got this high pressure environment. You've got Cyber Monday,
Mhm.
Black Friday, oh, and Christmas.
Mhm.
The jolly man's going to be coming through that one night. But it's leading up that pressure, and you identify a daily hui. By the way, how long do your daily huis take?
Well, we don't, because we do a nice energizing stand up, so we don't take any longer than 15 minutes,
Fantastic.
and that's enough time to connect in about what's our staffing situation, what's our volume situation, do we have any infrastructure stuff we need to be aware of? Right, what's our campaign for today? Go, go, go. It's part of our daily rhythm. It's just part of the fabric of our working day.
So when you talked about putting the oxygen mask on yourself first, for those team leaders, how do you help them develop the resilience that they need? Are there any tips or techniques you can share with our audience?
Yes, I think it's really important, if you are in a leadership role, to model the kind of leadership you want to see. So that means, I mean, for me, that means putting importance on being transparent, being vulnerable, being authentic, and not pretending I know something when I don't. Making sure that we have those honest conversations and genuine know that we have a genuine duty of care. If you demonstrate that genuine duty of care for your supervisory layer, the hope is they will do the same for their teams.
I think it has to start at the top and definitely has to work its way
Mm.
through. You talk about transparency, vulnerability, authenticity, and having those honest conversations. I'd like to refer to something that I wrote about in my third book, Leading from the Stop. And I share a story that affected my son and myself, but also dates back to my 9/11 experience where the pilot of flight UA929, I was a passenger,
Mm.
traveling from London Heathrow to Chicago, which was diverted as a result of the terrorist actions in New York City and Washington, D.C. He turned around and he created a framework, a simple 3-point framework.
Mhm.
When you have these difficult conversations, number one, he said, you're not in trouble.
Yes.
Number two, we believe in you. And number three, we're here to help. You're not in trouble. We believe in you. We're here to help. I think it's important for us to have these honest conversations. And there are going to be some times where they're tough conversations we want to have with our team. We've got to give them a safe space to come into. But also, I think you've got to look at what Captain Mike Ballard did. If he didn't know the answers, he said, I don't know.
Mhm.
And then he came back with updated information later on. I think we've got to be honest with ourselves and our teams, not to wing it, but to come back and to be authentic in our responses and make sure that they understand we're there to help them. Because it's difficult, there's pressure. You're pressurized to handle those calls to make sure everybody's satisfied. Are we seeing any improvement or any evidence that people are being civil on the calls, or do we still have a post-COVID increase in the number of aggressive calls we're seeing?
There is certainly, and I'm sorry to say this, it does seem like the customers that we speak to, both our business-based customers and our non-business-based customers, have a higher level of, I don't want, I guess the word entitlement is there. There is a stronger expectation that we do more and do it now. And I wonder how much of that's to do with the pace of life as
Yep.
it is at the moment. Um, there is definitely less civility on the voice channel in particular. We had a digital chatbot, not an AI, but
Yep.
it did have a profanity filter on it, and it functioned by picking up, identified keywords. And I was kind of shocked to see how many chats it bounced
Wow.
through the use of profanity. I was thankful because those chats that got bounced didn't reach our agents, but it just reinforced to me how important it is to be aware of this as because it's a health and safety risk, to be facing an abusive caller. I feel very strongly about that. So protecting our people is really important, and having good escalation pathways is part of that.
Let me then take that a stage further. We heard, and within the contact center industry, you're seeing this more and more, that organizations are applying AI within the screening of all the calls, so it's
Mm.
doing some sentiment analysis, and that's going to be helpful to try and identify the at-risk calls that are come through. In your current environment, do you use a lot of technology today to screen things like that? And if you do, how is it being implemented? But then if you don't, what are you doing to help support your staff when technology is not available?
Yes, certainly in the digital channels, it's a lot easier to use those tools. So as we've got the chatbot with the profanity filter.
Yep.
For our emails that come through, they have a sentiment analysis, which enables our CSRs to quickly see what's the
Hmm.
flavour that they're about to step into, which helps them mentally prepare. We don't have anything for voice channel though. So in the voice channel, we're trusting quite strongly in the de-escalation training that we've given our CSRs, and the training for empathy, that we've given our CSRs. So, and we have regular, in the team meetings, regular practices, just so that people keep those skills live. And we cultivate trust in our escalation process as well, which I think is important. It's a fine line because you don't want a CSR to feel that they can't deal with an angry customer by themselves. But so we give them the skills, and we also let them know that they've got someone who's got their back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's important.
Well, it's good because you're talking about de-escalation skills and empathy training skills, which you reinforce on a daily basis. It's definitely using the tools in your digital channel is going to help you, but if you don't have them in the voice channel, you have to then step up as a team. So that then, I guess, comes back to the aspect of developing cultures. How do you build and maintain a strong team culture?
Yeah, I think having those positive bonds is really important. Making sure that people feel safe, to feel heard and understood, that they have a sense of belonging, and that's again not a new lesson in the contact centre industry. I think some of the most gloriously silly work experiences I've ever had have been because of motivation squads and call centres, pajama days, dress as your favourite pet days, the joyful things. So we put energy into doing the joyful things. And we also put energy into making sure people feel psychosocially safe. That's absolutely vital, because every culture needs trust to begin with.
Trust, that would be my middle name if I had one to choose. I think trust is so important. How do we build trust? I think we build trust, number one, through transparency. And we do have to have a ring of steel, people that we can go to, that we can rely on. Understanding risks is important for us, as well as safety that you mentioned before. That psychological safety is so important for us to give our staff. And then we have to have tracking, because you have to track what you're doing, because even if you have got somebody who's been through a difficult situation, how do you track them afterwards? How are we ensuring that we can come back to them, and even in a virtual or appropriately physical situation of putting our arm around them, just to say, look, you're safe. We're here for you. Because I think we've got to understand there's product, there's process, and there's people, and none of this would work without the people. So if you then look at times where you're forcing yourself into change, have you ever had to navigate any resistance to change? And if you did, what did you learn?
Yes, well, I guess when it comes to resistance to change, which is a very natural human condition, I've been on both sides. I've been the person who was resistant to change, and I've been the person who's expected to lead the transformation, experiencing resistance from staff. I think probably the biggest learning is stuff that we've already talked about in this conversation: the importance of transparency, the importance of not making stuff up just for the sake of a great soundbite. Um, listening is absolutely vital as well. Finding those ways to listen, whether it's a large scale organisational change or a simple seating rearrangement. People need space to express. And if you're in a leadership space, you must listen. Please listen. That's don't think just because you've got a grand plan in your head that it's going to work with all the people elements. Don't be afraid to change the plan.
Well, I guess don't be afraid to change the plan. I think that's a great point you're raising. You've got to be able to listen and communicate as well. And another book that I read, one of hundreds that John Maxwell's written, is called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. I think when you're looking at a change management program, you're introducing change, whether it's the seating arrangement or something fundamental in a process, whatever it might be, we have to be able to communicate that message regularly. We can't just do it once and expect everybody to pick up on it. We've got to always come back and always reshare that. We've also got to be able to listen. I think you raise a very, very intrinsic point about listening. I put 2 asterisk marks against that because it's so important. And we've got to listen to our team, let our CSRs, our agents, guide us in our conversations because they are people who are a voice of customer for a lot of activity.
Yeah.
And give them that safe environment that they can come in where they know they're being listened to, and then show and determine that you're coming back with action. Because it's all very well, people say, oh, why bother saying something? Nothing gets done.
Yeah, having that responsiveness, and that gives you that accountability, I think.
Yeah. So then if you look at the experience, and you've got a lovely wide range, by the way, I love the fact that you started off in a contact center with the IRD. And then we look at the journeys, and a lot of people I hear say, well, you know, I started my career in some sort of a contact center environment, customer services, like school, where I finished university, whatever the case may be. I needed some money until I found my job. But we're creating careers for people. You had the unenviable task of reading through 500 applications. I'm surprised you didn't get RSI clicking through every one of those, absolutely. But having gone through that experience, if I was to give you a magic wand, and this magic wand will allow you to have one wish, only one, I'm afraid. It used to be 3, cut down to 1.
Hard economic times.
I know, I know. If you would choose this one wish in any way that you want, in any aspect of your life, the life of your colleagues, your organization, this country, magic wand, magic wish, what would your wish be?
I would wish that people would care more deeply and more genuinely for each other. Because that, whether that's in customer experience or customer service or just the general experience of being a human, having that compassion and that kindness is absolute key. Absolute key. That's my magic wish.
Wow, that's a great wish. I wish that that would happen as well. I wish that we'd be the more unity here, and that starts in with understanding each other, being genuine about each other. A previous guest talked about P2P, person to person. I'm going to change that to an H to H, human to human, or heart to heart, because I think that you're onto something here, Angela. I think we've got to come back and address that transformation that we wanted to do. The transformation starts with us as leaders. We've got to help our team be transparent, help them be vulnerable, be authentic with the conversations, and also empower a generation coming through that might not be as fluent on voice as they are digital natives. So if there was a message that you'd like our audience watching this podcast to take, what's that one message you'd like them to receive?
I think for me it's about holding your heart, staying soft. It's not about being tough, it's not about the concrete pill. It's about keeping that heart space soft and open, because only through that way can you have the readiness to respond with kindness and compassion.
Wow. Oh, holding your heart. Don't take that concrete pill. Somebody said, if you want, don't be like the person who's concrete, all mixed up and set in their ways. We've got to be soft. We've got to understand this. And maybe we're going against the trend out there, Angela, but it's something that I am willing to continue and drive through. Here at CCNZ, we're all about making sure that the product, the process, and the people get acknowledged and recognized. And there will be tools to help us on the people side of things. And we just need to be wise when we apply them, put the oxygen mask on ourselves first and drive it through. Now, if people want to get hold of Angela Canton, what's the best way to do that?
You can hit me up on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, our favorite place where we all hang out. Angela, on behalf of CCNNZ, I want to again thank you for your time and your wisdom in this fireside chat that we just had. And again, thank you for being our guest.
Thank you. It's been absolutely delightful.